Imagine this. You launch your company, month one, you're entirely on fire.
Oh, yeah, the honeymoon phase.
Right. You're working 18-hour days. You're sketching out roadmaps on napkins at coffee shops. The adrenaline is pumping.
You basically feel completely invincible.
Exactly. But then, and we all know this feeling, month 6 hits.
It always hits.
It does. And you're just staring at your laptop, your eyes are completely glazed over, you're exhausted, and you're just quietly wondering why you ever started this whole project in the first place.
Yeah, questioning all your life choices.
Totally. So what actually changed? I mean, today we are exploring why the very thing that starts your business, which is motivation, is the exact thing that will kill it if you rely on it long term.
It's such a critical shift in perspective.
It really is. So welcome to the Minted CEO. If you are building a business or trying to scale one or just trying to keep your momentum going on any massive project without burning out, this deep dive is absolutely for you.
Because you definitely can't run on fumes forever.
Right. We are going to deconstruct a newly uploaded piece that gets right to the heart of this problem. The article is titled Motivation versus Habit: The Secret to Sustainable Entrepreneurial Success by Ashley Boaz.
And honestly, it's an essential framing for anyone navigating the realities of long-term business building because, I mean, we culturally obsess over the hustle, right?
Oh, entirely. Hustle culture is everywhere.
Yeah, the hustle and the passion of the founder. But we so rarely talk about the underlying mechanics of, well, how to actually survive when that passion inevitably fades.
Right. And the article opens with this framing quote by Jim Rohn that just sets the stage perfectly. He says, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going.
It's a classic for a reason.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the article makes a very stark, really foundational argument right out of the gate. It draws this hard line between the role of the spark and the role of the system.
The emotional fuel versus the engine.
Exactly. It describes motivation as that emotional fuel. It's electrifying. It pushes you to take a terrifying first risk.
Which you need. You do need that to jump off the cliff.
You do. It stems from this deeply personal mission. And, it makes you willing to overcome incredible fear. But the core premise here is that it is fundamentally temporary.
It is temporary by its very biological and psychological nature. And that is precisely why motivation is inherently flawed as a long-term strategy.
Right, because you can't force it.
You really can. What's fascinating here is if we look at what motivation actually is, biologically speaking, it's essentially a dopamine spike.
A chemical reaction.
Right, a spike tied to novelty and anticipated reward. When you have a new idea, your brain just floods you with the neurochemistry required to pursue it. It's exciting.
But neurological spikes are, by definition, unsustainable, right?
Exactly. They have to come down. Motivation is entirely inconsistent because it fluctuates constantly based on, well, everything. Your internal energy levels, how much you slept, your diet, and whatever external adversity you happen to be facing that day.
Like getting a bad email.
Yes. If you get a single bad email from a client or a vendor falls through, that dopamine just drops. And your motivation, it evaporates instantly.
Which is so frustrating when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how we usually talk about this, and, the old cliche is that motivation is the ignition and habit is the fuel line.
Which is a good analogy, sure.
It is, but reading the article, that felt a bit too mechanical to me. It's more biological.
Yeah.
Motivation is like an adrenaline spike. It's designed by evolution to, get you away from a tiger.
Or to get you to take a massive leap in your career.
Right. But you cannot run on adrenaline all day without your heart just giving out. Habit is more like the slow burn cardiovascular system.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's what actually pumps the blood over the entire marathon, not just the sprint.
That is a much more accurate way to look at it, actually. Adrenaline is for emergencies and bursts of action, right? And the cardiovascular system is for endurance. And the article points out that relying on those bursts of inspiration, those adrenaline spikes, it inevitably stalls your momentum. Business success demands a really long-term commitment to action.
A marathon, not a sprint.
Right. Which means you cannot build your foundation on something as fleeting as a reactive emotion.
But wait, I have to push back on this slightly. Because when we talk about founders failing or projects stalling at that critical 6-month mark we mentioned, is it fair to say entrepreneurs don't actually lose their dreams?
That's a great point.
Do they just lack the infrastructure to survive the daily grind? Because it feels like we're saying passion isn't enough, which kind of goes against almost every piece of startup advice out there, follow your passion and all that.
Right, the whole find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life thing.
Exactly.
Well, this raises an important question, and it's one the article tackles head on. The article explicitly states that it's not that entrepreneurs lose their vision. They don't suddenly stop caring about their mission.
So what happens?
Rather, they get completely overwhelmed by the daily, repetitive, often super mundane demands of business ownership.
The paperwork?
The paperwork, the emails, the endless small decisions. Their prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for complex planning and pushing through friction, it simply gets exhausted.
It just taps out.
Exactly. And this is where the foundation of habit comes in as a replacement. The article defines habits as a reliable operational system.
Okay, so how does that work neurologically?
Well, when you form a habit, you are literally shifting the cognitive load from the high-energy prefrontal cortex to the basal ganglia, which is a deeper, much more automatic part of the brain.
So you're basically putting tasks on autopilot.
Precisely.
No.
Habits create stability. They reduce uncertainty. And most importantly, they ensure that critical tasks are completed even when your cognitive energy is totally depleted.
So we know the adrenaline isn't enough.
Yeah.
We have to build that cardiovascular system, that basal ganglia reliance. But how do we actually do that?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. How do you engineer a habit when you are staring at a massive, overwhelming mountain of work? The article provides a pretty clear roadmap for this, and it starts with how we approach our daily objectives.
Yes, the micro wins.
Yeah, it argues for a complete shift away from massive, intimidating dreams towards highly specific, process-oriented goals. So instead of having a vision board goal like launch my business this year, the article suggests bite-sized actions.
Like what?
Like spend 30 minutes daily validating my idea, or email 3 potential collaborators weekly.
Breaking it down into the ridiculous.
Exactly. But let me challenge that for a second. Doesn't breaking a massive vision down into these tiny 30-minute blocks make a founder lose sight of the big picture?
It can feel that way, yeah.
Like, how do you stay visionary if you're just hyper-focused on sending 3 emails on a Tuesday?
It's a really valid concern, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, the vision is what dictates the direction of the emails, not the other way around.
Ah, okay. The vision points the compass.
Right. The compass is set. The process-oriented goals are just the actual footsteps on the path. The underlying psychology here, and the reason the article emphasizes this so heavily, is about bypassing the amygdala.
The fear center.
Exactly. When you look at a massive goal like launch a company, your brain can easily perceive that enormity as a threat.
Because it's so big and vague.
Right. It induces anxiety, which immediately leads to procrastination. You just freeze. But by breaking the vision down into micro wins, you completely remove the threat response.
So it tricks your brain into feeling safe.
Yes. Executing a 30-minute validation block provides a small, tangible dopamine hit. It builds immediate accountability and forward momentum. It actively shifts the brain away from being paralyzed by the sheer scale of the vision.
And focuses it purely on executing a daily process. That makes a lot of sense. And that measurable progress is what actually fuels the habit formation, isn't it?
100%.
Because it feels good to check off that 30-minute block, so you naturally want to do it again the next day, which naturally evolves into the next concept the article explores, anchoring those micro wins into a predictable routine.
Which is where the magic really happens.
Right. The article talks about implementing routines like a strict morning planning session, structured time blocks for lead generation, and, end-of-day reviews. It's all about creating predictable cycles of behavior.
Precisely. And the reason those predictable cycles are so critical brings us to one of the most insidious threats to any entrepreneur, which is decision fatigue.
Oh, decision fatigue is so real.
It's a killer. Every single choice you make in a day, from what to wear to how to respond to an upset customer to deciding what task to tackle next, all of it burns biological energy.
It's like a battery draining.
Exactly. The famous ego depletion studies illustrate this perfectly. Your capacity to make good decisions or force yourself to do hard things, it literally degrades with every choice you make throughout the day.
Wow. So you literally have less willpower at 4 p.m. than you do at 8 a.m.
Considerably less. Decision fatigue is a silent killer of productivity. By creating predictable, repeatable routines, we actively reduce the number of choices you have to make.
Because the routine already knows the answer.
Exactly.
You aren't waking up and asking, what should I do today to build my business? Which takes immense energy to figure out. You just look at the schedule and execute the plan. The friction of choice is completely gone.
That's exactly it. Routines minimize friction. They act as a sort of scaffolding for your behavior so that when you sit down at your desk, you aren't expending precious mental glucose just figuring out where to start.
You just start.
You just start. The thinking was already done yesterday.
Building directly on that concept of eliminating decision fatigue, the article pushes this idea even further. Because if routines minimize the choices you have to make, then operational systems remove the human element entirely.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Right. The article gives highly practical examples of systematizing the grind. We're talking about automating CRM pipelines for lead follow-up, pre-scheduling your social media content, auto-generating invoices, and heavily relying on project management architecture like Trello or Asana.
It is all about systematizing the repetitive activities to offload your cognition into your environment.
Offloading cognition. I love that phrase.
Because as a business owner, your brain is constantly juggling 100 different variables. If you are relying on your own memory and your own willpower to remember to send an invoice on the first of the month, you are wasting vital mental space.
Space that should be reserved for high-level strategy.
Exactly. Systems basically act as an external hard drive for your business operations.
And the beauty of an automated invoice is that it doesn't need to feel inspired to send itself.
Nope. Software doesn't need a pep talk.
Right. It doesn't have bad days. It doesn't get poor sleep. It just executes. Systems ensure those essential processes happen every single time, completely without requiring a burst of motivation from the founder.
Which is the safety net.
But here is where it gets tricky, right? You can automate the software, but what about keeping the human on track?
That's the harder part.
Yeah. The article introduces the concept of leveraging accountability structures. Things like hiring a business coach, joining a mastermind group, or even just scheduling weekly progress reviews with a peer.
Outsourcing the pressure.
Exactly. But I have to ask, aren't entrepreneurs supposed to be the ultimate self-starters? We have this pervasive cultural myth of the lone wolf founder who just wills their company into existence through sheer internal drive. Doesn't needing a coach imply a lack of dedication?
That is such a dangerous myth, and honestly, the article's logic dismantles it completely. Believing you must be a lone wolf is a fast track to burnout.
So it's not a weakness.
Accountability is absolutely not a sign of weakness.
No.
It is a strategically engineered feedback loop. We are inherently social creatures, and our neurology is totally wired to respond to social expectation.
So we care what other people think.
We care a lot. When your internal drive is completely empty, when you have literally no motivation left, the psychological weight of knowing someone else is expecting you to deliver can override your depleted willpower.
That makes so much sense.
It's a phenomenon directly related to the Hawthorne effect.
Remind us what that is.
It's the psychological theory where behavior changes simply because it is being observed. By building in layers of accountability, you are essentially outsourcing your motivation. It serves as a vital bridge.
A bridge over those low-energy days.
Exactly. It carries you across the gap when your initial spark fades and your own discipline is just wavering.
I love that framing. Outsourcing your motivation when your internal tank is empty. It's like an insurance policy for your bad days.
That's exactly what it is.
But even with all of that infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Even when the project boards are humming, the morning routines are locked in, and your mastermind group is checking your progress, there are still going to be those lonely, quiet moments where the work is just undeniably hard and you just have to do it yourself.
Yeah, the systems can't write the book for you.
Right. Which leads to the final and perhaps most crucial strategy in the article, developing self-discipline instead of relying on willpower.
This is a crucial distinction that honestly gets muddled all the time. People use willpower and self-discipline interchangeably, but they are functionally very different.
How so?
Willpower is a state. It is a finite resource, much like physical strength, and it is incredibly unreliable, especially when your stress levels rise or you are physically tired. Relying on willpower is like, well, it's like trying to hold back a flood with your bare hands.
That's just going to break through eventually.
Exactly. Self-discipline, on the other hand, as the article argues so well, is a trait. It is a developable skill.
Not something you're just born with.
No, not at all. It is the architectural system of habits, environments, and boundaries you build so that you don't have to use your willpower.
Right. And the article lists specific, very tactical ways to train that skill and build that architecture. For example, it talks about ruthlessly eliminating distractions in your workspace.
So you don't even have to make the choice.
Exactly. So you don't have to use willpower to ignore your phone. It's just in another room.
There you go.
It also talks about adhering to strict, non-negotiable sleep schedules to ensure your prefrontal cortex is actually fully charged to begin with.
Sleep is the foundation of all of this.
But my absolute favorite tactic, mentioned in the article, is practicing micro-commitments.
Oh, those are brilliant.
Right. The idea of promising yourself you will do just 10 minutes of focused work. You tell yourself you don't have to finish the whole project, you just have to do 10 minutes. Because usually once you start, the friction disappears and momentum takes over.
It's basically the physics of productivity. An object at rest stays at rest, but an object in motion stays in motion. The 10-minute micro-commitment just drastically lowers the barrier to entry.
It gets you over that initial hump. And here's where the article grounds all of this theory in undeniable reality. It brings up 3 incredibly high-profile entrepreneurs who rely entirely on these types of engineered habits over raw inspiration.
Real-world proof is always the best.
Let's look at how they operate. First, it mentions Elon Musk, who famously manages his day in rigid 5-minute time blocks.
5 minutes. It's intense.
It is. He uses it to maximize time management and limit absolutely any wasted space in his calendar.
The underlying mechanism of Musk's 5-minute blocking is actually a direct application of Parkinson's law.
Which is the idea that work expands to fill the time allotted, right?
Exactly. If you give yourself all day to write a proposal, it will take you all day. By hyper-segmenting his time, Musk forces a state of urgency that completely overrides the natural human tendency to procrastinate.
He doesn't have time to procrastinate.
It doesn't. He isn't relying on feeling motivated to tackle an engineering problem. The 5-minute block dictates that the problem is being tackled right now. The structure forces the action.
That is fascinating. Okay, next, the article highlights Oprah Winfrey. Now, she heavily relies on a daily meditation and journaling routine.
A very different approach from Musk, but same principle.
Right. She uses it to center her emotions, regulate her stress, and maintain total clarity and focus throughout her incredibly demanding days.
And again, if you look at the neuroscience of that habit, meditation isn't just about, relaxation or feeling good. It is a neurological reset.
How does that work?
It engages the parasympathetic nervous system and quiets the brain's default mode network. And the default mode network is the area responsible for mind wandering, rumination, and anxiety.
Oh, wow. So it literally turns off the anxiety center.
Effectively, yes. Oprah isn't just waking up and hoping she feels grounded enough to make massive media decisions. She has built a biological habit that actively constructs that state of grounded clarity every single morning.
She engineers the state she needs.
Exactly.
That is so powerful. Finally, we have Marie Forleo, who swears by strict task batching. So she groups similar tasks together to reduce context switching, which the article says drastically boosts her creative and operational efficiency.
Task batching is such a profound defense against what psychologists call attention residue.
Attention residue.
Yeah. Every time you switch from, say, checking an email to writing a creative brief, a portion of your cognitive attention actually remains stuck on the previous task.
Like a lag on a computer.
Exactly like RAM on a computer. This switching cost drains your brain's processing power incredibly fast. So by batching tasks, say, doing absolutely all her interviews on Tuesdays and all her writing on Wednesdays, Forleo is aggressively protecting her cognitive bandwidth.
She isn't just working harder.
No, she is working in alignment with how the human brain actually processes information.
It is such a powerful synthesis of the article's core message. When you look at these 3, none of these incredibly successful leaders rely on waking up feeling fired up.
They'd never get anything done if they did.
Right. They have cultivated what the article calls identity-based habits. Their success isn't magic, and it definitely isn't the result of an endless well of passion. It is a natural, inevitable byproduct of their day-to-day behavior.
They completely replace the volatile feeling of motivation with a rigid, reliable framework.
Yes. They have created a sustainable rhythm that allows them to make strategic progress consistently, regardless of the emotional weather on any given day.
Rain or shine, the system runs.
Exactly. Which brings us to the winning formula that the article presents, and it summarizes the core thesis so beautifully. Motivation plus habit equals your business growth strategy.
The spark gets you moving, but the system keeps you alive.
So well said. And for you listening right now, the takeaway is actually deeply liberating, I think. It means you don't need to be endlessly inspired to succeed.
What a relief, honestly.
Right. You don't need to feel like a visionary every single day. The article reiterates that building even one new system, just one single habit, whether it's that 10-minute micro commitment or automating a single email pipeline, it can become a catalyst for transformational change.
Just one thing can completely alter the trajectory of your business.
Exactly. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about how habits act as the ultimate safety net, saving you and your business when your motivation inevitably dies. But I know you had another thought on this before we wrap up.
I do, yeah. There's another layer to this that is really worth considering. What if the ultimate goal of building these rigid habits isn't just to replace motivation, but to actually protect it?
What do you mean by protect it?
Well, think about it. If your automated systems, your micro routines, and your accountability loops are effortlessly handling the daily grind, the emails, the scheduling, the repetitive tasks, then your cognitive energy isn't being drained by sheer survival.
You aren't burning out your prefrontal cortex just trying to keep the lights on.
Exactly. So if your habits handle the grind, maybe you preserve your initial spark solely for the visionary work.
Oh, wow.
By building the system, you are actually building a fortress around your passion, ensuring that when you do tap into your motivation, it's used for true innovation, not just administration.
That makes total sense.
It's just something to think about the next time you sit down to plan your day. Ask yourself, are you relying on a feeling to do the heavy lifting, or have you built an engine that actually protects your best ideas?
That is the perfect lingering thought to leave everyone with. Build the engine so the spark can actually start a fire, rather than just trying to keep you warm.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of sustainable success. We really appreciate you taking the time to unpack this with us. Thank you for listening to The Minted CEO. We will see you next time.